Just think what would happen if Wisconsin, if you gave this man a majority in the House and Senate. What would happen here? Just imagine. One vote, one Senate vote in Minnesota was the difference between that. One Senate vote in Minnesota gave us paid family and medical leave. One vote expanded health care. One vote made sure that we're addressing climate change. That's what you can give to this governor, and that's what we need to give to Vice President Harris. That's our vision for the country. Now look, we don't expect everybody to think like us. Now we know that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they have a little bit different vision of America. I do say this, he does know something about working people, Donald Trump does. He knows how to take advantage of them. That's what he knows how to do. Every single chance these guys have gotten, they've waged wars on workers in the middle class. As president, Trump blocked overtime for millions of workers. Hell, why pay the bills? He doesn't pay his own. Why should we pay somebody for overtime? What are they going to do? That's what they do. He opposed efforts to raise the minimum wage, for God's sakes. That shouldn't be that difficult. If people put in an honest day's work, they should receive an honest day's pay. And look, I know Wisconsin knows this. Again, give him a working majority because he's a guy who supports so-called right-to-work laws that deprives unions of the funds they need. Everybody here today knows what right to work really means. It means the right to work for less money. It means the right to work in dangerous situations. It means the right to work with no pensions. That's what right to work means. It doesn't help with our ability to collectively bargain and to fight with the dignity of work that we know every single person in America deserves. So look, I sometimes say this. We're running for something. We're running to run forward to the future. And I don't think it's always great to run against something, but I do think it's important to be informed. If you think those guys were bad the last time he was in the White House, just wait if he gets another shot at it. And again, they have told us exactly what they're going to do. The goals in Project 2025 are clear. It should be subtitled, How to Screw the Working People. That's how it should be listed. When you make it harder to unionize, you make it harder on all workers. Allowing employers to cut overtime pay or even eliminate it. Look, Project 2025 is even going after the 40-hour work week. Let's all be very clear. It's the folks standing here and those whose shoulders we stand on gave us the 40-hour work week and the weekend. So thank you, Labor. Somebody said, what's next, child labor? Hell yeah, it's in there. That's what they've got in there. You see states doing that, putting our children at risk. That's what they'll do. So look, they'll go after things like Social Security and Medicare. And I keep saying this, repeal the Affordable Care Act, go back to no pre-existing condition protections. And even if you're not on the ACA, you know somebody who relies on it. And here's what I say. They don't think a damn about Social Security because I guess if you've got $1 billion, you don't care if your Social Security check shows up. But I tell you who does, my mom. She pays the bills with that in the heat and buys food with her Social Security check. And she worked for it and earned it. That's how it worked. Look, I know this is preaching to the choir, but we got about 64 days to sing, choir. We got 64 days to get to our relatives, to talk to them, to tell them what's out there. Look, this guy has made it clear how he stands. He's sitting down at Mar-a-Lago after he got elected president, and this was his exact quote. He's talking to a bunch of folks at Mar-a-Lago. You're rich as hell, and we're going to give you a tax cut. At the same time, he was telling workers they get paid too much already. That's who this guy is. You tell me who in Wisconsin is sitting around saying, damn, I wish they'd give billionaires tax cuts and screw me over. Damn, I wish they'd take my health care away. I wish they'd underfund my public school. I wish they would make my job more difficult, more dangerous. And then at the end of the day, I wish they'd make me work till I'm 75 years old. No one's saying that. No one's asking for that agenda. What they're asking for is to be treated fairly with dignity. That's what we have. Look, I know, we all know this. I remember a time when Republicans talked about things like freedom, they meant it. They would never turn their back on our allies. But that's not these guys. Trump and Vance, when they talk about freedom, means government should have the freedom to invade every corner of our life. They talk about small government, small enough to be in your bedroom, small enough to be in your exam room, small enough to be in your library, telling you the things that you should make decisions about. So let's be very clear. Where I come from, and where you come from as neighbors, we respect differences. That's your opinion. Look, we're sitting here together, Brewers and Twins fans, Vikings and Packers. Look, we respect it. But on things like healthcare and what books I read and democracy, we all live by that very simple golden rule. Mind your own damn business. Mind your own business. Your Republican neighbors want to live that way. We have to tell that story. But look, I agree with this. We have a responsibility to tell people not just what we're against, but what we're for. So let me just take a second here to tell you exactly what Vice President Harris and I will do. As president, Vice President Harris will sign the PRO Act, make it easier to form unions, period. And you know what comes out of that? You can go do the work to get fairer wages, safer working conditions, good health care, and a good pension. I saw last week the Wall Street Journal was trying to say, because they did a story, that apparently I am the poorest person to ever run for vice president. But then they did another story that said, oh, he's actually richer than his statement says because he has, and I quote, like this is an evil thing, a defined benefit pension plan. That is my wish for every American, to have a defined benefit pension plan. So look, we'll lower taxes on working families and we can make corporations pay their fair share. Look, they're doing really well. They can pay their fair share because guess what? We have a saying in Minnesota, when everybody does better, everybody does better. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. And you can be sure we'll keep fighting for Social Security and Medicare, and we're damn sure not going to tax us for the wealthy and raise the age on Medicare and Social Security. That will not happen. So look, we got it in Minnesota, and we want it for everybody. We're going to fight for paid family and medical leave for everybody in this country. Shouldn't be asking so much. Spend a little time with your child after they're born, or if you've got chemotherapy treatments, to be able to not lose your house because you're getting health care. That's not that difficult. Well, we want to make sure that you don't just get by, but that you can get ahead and thrive. And be clear, we can't state this enough. I hope you're getting sick and tired of hearing about it, because this is the defining issue around freedom and the differences in it. We, Vice President Harris, myself, and everyone here believes that you should be free to make your own healthcare decisions, not politicians. It's simple. And to all of you here and my teacher friends, education should be a pathway to a thriving future, not crippling debt. And while we're on schools and kids, we believe our kids should be free to go to school without worrying about being shot dead in the halls.